Hello and welcome to the Success Showcase. I'm your host, Eric Lopkin with the Modern Observer Group. And with me, as always, is Chip Janiszewski from the Happiness and Success GPS. Chip, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great. How about you, Eric?
I'm doing fantastic. We are kicking off our fourth season of the Success Showcase, and we just took a few weeks off, and Chip got to spend those few weeks in Paris. Tell us a little bit about that.
I still don't know any French. It's an amazing country. We toured Alsace, which is right on the German border, which is bounced back and forth between German and French ownership. And then we did Paris for a couple of days and then went out to the Brittany area to this beautiful town called Roscoff. And our hotel room there was a real old place right on the ocean wall. And at low tide, you can see the dirt, and at high tide, the waves are kind of crashing up against the wall. And of course, we had a couple of peeping Tom seagulls because we have sliding windows, and they just wanted us to feed them. And they were barking at us, and we had all kinds of fun with them too. They hung around for an hour or two. So it was just amazing. It's just a beautiful country. So
Very cool. All right. Well, today we've got a special guest with us, Joe DeFeo of the Children's Museum in West Hartford, Connecticut. Joe, welcome.
Thank you very much, and thanks for having me on. Good to be with you guys, especially on the season kickoff, so thank you.
It's our pleasure to have you. And why don't we start off by telling our audience a little bit about the museum and what the museum's mission is.
Sure, absolutely. So the museum is the fifth oldest children's museum in the country. We are celebrating 92 years. And our mission of the museum is pretty simple. It's to provoke lifelong experiential learning and innovation among children, adults, and their communities.
Excellent. So, what makes the Children's Museum stand out? I mean, everybody has an idea of what a museum is, but yours has its own sort of personality. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Sure, absolutely. So we are so many different entities all in one. And that's what makes us stand out, is that we have our physical location. And within our location, we have a few different exhibits, and we've had some things we've had since I can remember coming here. Everything here is interactive. Everything here is hands-on, because that's the way that children learn. So we're not a play area. We're not a place, we're not a playscape, but we are an educational facility that teaches through play. So children and their families come in. They're encouraged to be interactive with each other. They're encouraged to get off their phones and engage with the child, engage in the different exhibits that we have. We also have a preschool on site. That's a little different. Everything we do is STEAM-based, which is science, technology, engineering, arts, and math. So we have a curriculum for our preschool that's based off STEAM, as well as our educational interactive exhibits. And then to add to that, we have a wildlife refuge and rehabilitation center. Roaring Brook Nature Center out in Canton is also part of our family of locations. We house about 300 animals, and we rehab just about 3 times that many. So I think this year we're on track to rehab and release about 1,000.
And
finally,
for those of our listeners that don't know, what do you mean by rehab an animal?
Oh, sure. So all the animals we have here are injured or abandoned animals. We're not a zoo. Animals either get dropped off on our doorstep, quite literally. For those of you who don't know, we have a giant hollow sperm whale on our property. It was built by the Connecticut Cetacean Society 42 years ago. And one day we got a phone message. It was a Monday. We all came in the office, and the phone said, "Check the whale." And we did, and inside the whale was a cat carrier, and inside that cat carrier was a bobcat. So, yeah, so people literally drop them off, or if it's an animal that is hit by a car, for instance, we get a lot of birds that are hit by cars because they have been feeding too close to the road. So what we do is we treat them, we get them back to health, and then if they're able to be released back into the wild, so that's the rehab part, and if they're able to be released, we do so. Our bobcat, his name is Rufus, unfortunately could not be released. He was declawed. We did get him as a kitten. So he's very comfortably living here. Otherwise, he would not have made it out in the wild.
Yeah, and the Roaring Brook Nature Center is actually out in my neck of the woods out here in Canton, whereas the museum itself is located in West Hartford. And I've been obviously to both things. In fact, my sons grew up going to Roaring Brook a lot when they were younger, and they do have the rehab there as far as taking care of the animals. You have a lot of birds there.
Yes.
And a really nice exhibit area, and also it's a beautiful. You go out in the woods, and you have a lot of walking trails out there also. So it's really a well kept secret. And it's so cool that you folks are together. One of the things that I did want to bring up is your website is very, very comprehensive. And for those of you folks out there, the website is the Children's Museum CT for Connecticut.org. Again, the Children's Museum CT.org. And your top link bar kind of says it all. I mean, you just gave us a little bit of an overview, but you talked about the exhibits, and you have a list here: Sonic Sensation, Early Childhood Learning Lab, Wildlife Sanctuary, and a whole slew of other ones. You have a whole bunch of programs there where you have a vacation science camp. You can do birthday parties and a lot of other things. The planetarium, you talked about the preschool. There's just a lot of things there. And I met you through the West Hartford Chamber of Commerce, and we've had a couple of really nice business after hours at your facility too. So there's so many things that are going on over there that I highly, highly encourage you folks out there to take a look at the website and check it out, see what you can do to support the Children's Museum. But what are the special things going on right now, Joe?
Sure. So right now, what we have going on is you'd mentioned that Sonic Sensation is a new exhibit that we just opened up. It's a exhibit all about the science of sound and hearing and how to protect your hearing. And there's all kinds of neat interactive parts of the exhibit. There's an area where you can hear how different animals would hear. There is an area where you can make your own soundtrack to a movie. There's a scream chamber, which comes in very handy, not just for the kids, but also for some of the parents and people who work here too. We have that, and we have our new early learning lab, which is a interactive space geared toward the very young. Most of the we say that most of the time we focus on children between the ages of 3 and 12. Our early learning center, or sorry, early learning lab as we call it, is geared toward kids even younger than that. And it's all interactive, and we have it arranged so that parents and caregivers are encouraged to help the children. It's a lot of art-based interactivity. We have reading nooks in that area, as along with a lot of other places. And we're working on developing a new laser show. We were donated a laser system by DNR Technologies out of Watertown, who the owner of that location came to the museum as a child, saw how the planetarium worked, and loved it so much he got into the field of lasers and donated back an old laser system so that we can show some classic laser shows, and we're working on a new holiday themed laser show for people in our planetarium.
That's fantastic. It really goes to show the impact that the museum has. I mean, not only did you sort of shape where this person went in their career, they also came back and went, yes, I understand that this is why I did this, and now he's come back to help.
Yeah, absolutely, and that's one of the things that we pride ourselves on, is that we have a network of alumni, not just from our preschool, but people who have been through here. It's hard to find someone in the area who either through school, field trips, or on their own hasn't in some way come through our doors. And part of the impact too is that, again, sort of talking about what makes us unique is that we branch out. We have the two locations in Canton and in West Hartford, but really we cover all of Connecticut we go up into Boston, and we go out into Rhode Island and New York with our traveling programs. We have about 100 different programs we bring to um, schools, community centers, libraries, anywhere that people congregate in their neighborhoods. We will bring a program to. In fact, we just launched a large scale program in Hartford with the help of the Catholic Charities, Hartford Foundation for Public Giving, and the Center for the Latino Family, where we are bringing the museum to the neighborhoods. 3 different family centers will get an experience for the full day where we will bring our programming to them and the children and their families. We'll do 3 different programs over the next few months, along with some mini programs in the libraries in the community. And then right before the summer, we'll bring a group of the folks from the family centers into the museum. So it's full day programs, and we're constantly going back into the community. So it's not just a one and done sort of program. They actually can take something with them at the end of the day and continue that learning at home.
And as you said, you're based in West Hartford, but these programs go out to a 4-state area because you're centrally located there. So
Mhm.
you're dealing with kids from all different walks of life, different cultures, different backgrounds, and making sure that they receive this STEAM education, which unfortunately has been lacking in school curriculums.
Absolutely has. And the part of the problem too is that a lot of these kids don't get STEAM curriculum, and to be honest, a lot of times it's STEM curriculum, which is they just leave out the arts because nobody can figure out how to really incorporate that A sometimes. But what they do is they get that in high school, and by the time they get that in high school, they've already developed their learning habits. And to introduce an entirely new curriculum and way of learning is very jarring. So a lot of kids don't get the exposure early on, which is what we aim to do, and put them on a path toward those kind of not just learning experiences, but further down the line, STEAM-based jobs. I mean, you look at one of the biggest employers in the state is Pratt and Whitney, and engineering, science, technology, design, the art part of it, and math, they all fit into that one particular employer. So helping keep the brain trust and helping make kids excited about those kind of jobs starts early on, and we really focus on that as well, and offering some kids who might not have the vision, I think, or have the ability to in their curriculum for whatever reason to say I can do something like this in my future, and bringing these programs shows them that they can do that.
Right, there's been a lot of talk how retailers, restaurants, businesses like this are adding kiosks, and they're adding, mobile apps and all of this. And programming is really becoming the blue collar job of this generation. We
Hmm.
need people to be able to program, design interfaces, and this is all coming out of STEAM education. So it's really important to prepare young children for the workforce that they are going to be seeing. They really do need this early on.
Yeah, absolutely. And unfortunately, they're just not able to get it for whatever reason. Um, the curriculum is not presented to them, and I think it's probably because we underestimate a lot of the way that kids learn. And if you're incorporating it the way that we do into a hands-on, interactive way where they can really immerse themselves into it, and it's sometimes it's the simplest thing, like we have these magnetic shapes that kids can put together. That's a STEAM curriculum-based activity. The old game Simon, which I don't know if you remember, was the colors and the
I
lights.
do.
Yeah, it was I loved it and I hated it at the same time. But we have an exhibit here that features that.